All right, everyone, John McCain is rolling over in his grave, or I don't know, maybe they cremated him. Either way, he's suffering a little bit more in the afterlife location he would be in, because more peace is breaking out in Korea. It's a terrible day for the war hawks. They must be like crying into their fifth scotch of the day at this point. Because what's happening now is that they're removing landmines from a few locations in the DMZ, in the demilitarized sort of no man's land between the Koreas. What they're doing is they're demining this area in order to recover POW remains. Apparently they're up to like 300 remains here. Some of them are like Chinese. There are North and South Korean, US and Chinese remains in this particular location. So they're trying to clear out up to 10,000 landmines. Apparently there are millions of landmines scattered along the DMZ, and unfortunately nobody's in the fog of war, as they've been deployed over and over for several decades there. Unfortunately, they're not exactly sure where all of them are, and unfortunately some of them may have shifted a little bit too. So it's a threat to the public. Apparently there are so many landmines, sometimes river flooding happens, some of them get dislodged and literally explode. There was one case where a North Korean landmine injured a couple South Koreans, actually at one point, I think in the Peace Village itself, not that long ago. Landmines are one of the biggest problems. There's a reason why, most nations don't deploy them. Because after the war, the problem is most of the casualties could happen after the war is already over and involve your own, people, potentially. We see this in Cambodia. Millions of landmines were deployed down there. Cambodia, Laos, parts of Vietnam. You occasionally have an elephant stumble out of the forest missing a leg, and you're like, oh, well, no, that fucking sucks. I think that was a famous case like half a decade ago or something. They gave it a prosthetic leg. And then they're like, well, it has to be in a zoo, but at least it can walk normally now. This is a really good thing that's happening. This hasn't, mass landmine removal hasn't happened between the two Koreas in over a decade. So this is, again, peace is breaking out. It's actually abnormal. And then we hear that according to their new agreement, they're actually going to replace all of the armed guards in the Peace Village with unarmed guards, and tourists will literally be able to walk between the two Koreas within the Peace Village. Like, there won't be, there won't be a bunch of artillery, hopefully, aimed at the area anymore. People will be able to sort of, move back and forth. This could set the groundwork for the reunification of families between the two Koreas as well. You're seeing a fairly quick thawing of relations between North and South Korea. Japan's sidelined, again, because of the nuclear question. I think basically Pompeo's like, hey, the Japanese are going to seek nuclear weapons. Hey, Kim, wake up here, because we can't control this country. They're too powerful for us to force them not to have nukes. We're not going to be able to use military. We're not going to be able to sanction them. We're not going to be able to use military force. If they want nuclear weapons, they're going to get them, and they want them because you keep firing missiles too close to their islands. Big mistake. You need to tone it down, and therefore you have the more conciliatory tone that you have. China's probably involved as well. Ongoing. A lot of this is probably happening behind the scenes. And then, of course, you have another Trump-Kim Jong-un conference, the summit that they may be doing after October. Not until then. But this is part of the continued progress that the U.S. insisted on in order to not have the joint drills with South Korea. They are still officially, I believe, back on, but they could be rescinded again on the back of the fact that, hey, you've got more POW remains, fewer landmines. This is measurable progress. The only thing now that's missing is a declaration officially of North Korea's nuclear capabilities. That's the last thing. That's the only thing left that they need to do. And I think, I'm going to tell you the truth, I think Kim Jong-un is waiting until after the midterms in hopes that the U.S. government is strangulated enough for him not to have to keep that end of the bargain. Yeah, I don't think he has a problem with all of these other things. I think the one thing he might be reluctant to do is declare his nuclear stockpile. Simply because that wild card is why North Korea has more negotiating leverage. If forced to, if Trump still has all the power come after the midterms, probably things move more quickly. I don't expect, them to go back onto a war footing. I think there is a genuine desire for peace at this point. Probably, again, because there are other players involved that are not fully controlled by the U.S. or China within the region. There are other countries now, there are other powers in the region that have an effect upon the situation. Pompeo has already probably warned them about this. Hey, Tokyo could go rogue. Maybe China goes rogue on you. Who knows? We're not going to be able to stop them. What about India? Another rising power, a major player now within Asia, seeking to expand its influence, seeking to expand its military capabilities, its navy especially. Pakistan following suit, now taking Chinese money more than U.S. money. The rise of the Philippines potentially as a power as Duterte implements his reforms, and I'd say Vietnam too. Vietnam partnering with Australia actually specifically because of the threat of China gobbling up all of the all of the ocean along their shoreline. So you've got a rapidly changing situation there. I think, oddly enough, Kim Jong-un has decided to guarantee his own prosperity and non-being assassinated status by partnering with D.C., of all groups. I think he looked over at China's increasing ambitions and ambivalence more towards him and gobbling up parts of Africa and said, I feel like I've been left behind here, and Putin's in no position to defend me, nor probably cares to. What am I going to do here? Okay, I better play nice with Uncle Sam for a while. They say, okay, we've got peace now. I hope that what we need is for North and South Korea to hold just like one more summit, sign a piece of paper formally declaring the Korean War over. Now, the U.S. technically would still be at war with North Korea unless we are signing. I think China technically is still involved with South Korea, but that could happen separately. Mainly, it needs to be North and South Korea doing it. Nobody here is going to have the stomach to invade if they've ended the war. Nobody here wants to fight. I don't think that there's a single American that wants to fight North Korea. I doubt that you could find a North Korean that wants to fight the United States. I mean, it'd be suicidal for them. It would cause mass casualties to several of our allies, probably to our own troops in the region, and be protracted. It would also bring us to the brink of a nuclear exchange with China, potentially. I don't think any sane person wants a war in the region. But more does need to be done. This is just another step in a long process, but it's a big one. The removal of land, literally clearing out an area that specifically has landmines on it because you don't want your enemy having that location, is fairly important. I believe this one's on the North Korean side. But South Korea is actively involved, like they're working together to clear this area out. And then you have, of course, again, the proposal of disarming the guards in the Peace Village so that tourists are, facing down the barrel of a gun. If they go 2 steps beyond, they get shot, basically. Now they're talking about basically having a porous border where, at least within that confined area, people can be in North or South Korea, and it won't be a problem. The North Koreans won't have it. It's highly symbolic. Symbolism plays a greater role than pragmatism. It's just the Peace Village. It's not a big thing for any strategic purpose to allow a U.S. tourist to walk freely into North Korean territory, but it's symbolic. Because until recently, it was basically, you won't have 1 square inch of our territory. We are the utter masters here. You have no role. Fuck off, Uncle Sam, basically. You're capitalist swine. We wish we could burn you into the ocean, along with Japan. Now it's a different tone. It's more conciliatory, and Kim Jong-un eventually, I think, will face internal pressure to reform things within North Korea. Once that happens, it'll sort of be like a miniaturized version of China. I don't expect it to be like, laissez-faire capitalist, fully Western. Hey, we're having elections now and stuff. No, it'll be a one-party state. It'll still be run by Kim Jong-un, or maybe an oligarchic sort of situation. But it'll be better than it is, and it certainly will be less likely to cause a regional nuclear conflict. So yeah, peace is breaking out. So fucking all the war hawks. With the death of John McCain came the death of the throes of the worst Cold Warrior. So I think that's symbolic too. That's about all. Peace out.